Hey, I want to show you a quick tip on rod choice for fishing the Tikka Minnow. I've had a lot of conversations about the Tikka Minnow. Matt Klug did a great job doing a bite episode this summer, catching fish on the open water. But the Tikka Minnow, or your Jigging Minnow, swimming lure has really taken steam the last few years. It's not a new concept. It's been around for a long time, but there's been a lot of anglers asking, what do I do for rods? What do I do for a line? How do I store them? So I got a few things I want to touch on, just some Tikka Minnow tips for you here. For starters, I'm going to go over two systems, two-tiered approach on how I fish a Tikka Minnow. I'm going to talk about line choice as well as to each one and why I'm doing what I'm doing. For starters, you can see how I'm storing these. That's one question I oftentimes get because these hooks are all over the place. I'm using this Today's Tackle pouch. Clam Outdoors distributes and makes these. You can see how it's super nice and neat, super cool there so that the hooks aren't jumping all over the place. Super efficient. And all you do is literally Velcro that off there. And I got an active Tikka Minnow. So this comes right off. There's the Tikka Minnow. So you can see there, you got that dangly hook. That's what catches everything. So when you throw on that tackle pouch like you saw, that stops it from doing that. And I'm fishing, just like a 5/8 ounce, probably a 5/16 to 5/8 ounce Tikka Minnow with this particular setup. And I'll show you why. I'm a little heavier rod. So there's two rod types you're gonna see me talk about here. You're gonna have solid carbon fiber, solid graphite rod. This one gives me that added control when I'm fishing the heavier Tikka Minnows. So when I get to that, let's say 5/16 range, up to 5/8, and even some of the new 7/8 ounce sizes, I'm going to use a medium powered 32-inch Scepter carbon rod. This is a brand new rod from Clam Outdoors. Super high carbon fiber, solid blank, super responsive, super sensitive. I can control this lure. It is a heavier presentation. I'm going to be actively jigging, so I'm going to use that 32-inch medium action Scepter carbon. There's plenty of models out there that are 28 to 36-inch medium powered rods. Some blanks might even work well with a medium heavy powered rod. But this is a 32-inch medium powered. I'm using that new Kejic reel, and I'm using 6-pound test line. I'm using 6-pound test monofilament. You can see it's metered orange. And you can see right towards the tip of that, I have a swivel. I have a swivel about 1.5 feet up. 1.5 to 2 feet up, and I measure that so that when I store it, this doesn't go through that first guide. That's just a good general rule of thumb for me. That eliminates some line twists because these lures dart and dance all over the place. So I'm using a 32-inch medium action rod, solid graphite, good high ball bearing, good smooth drag, Kejic reel, 6-pound test monofilament. You can use a braided line. You can use a fluorocarbon. I would prefer to use monofilament or braided. And if I'm going to run braided as my main line, my swivel down to my Tikka Minnow is going to be a monofilament or a fluorocarbon. And this is how I'm going to fish probably the 5/16, 5/8, 7/8. I'm going to fish it on this style of setup. So super efficient, super easy to use. And like I said, you take that Today's Tackle pouch, and I just slide it right over this entire lure, and that holds it in place nice and neat. Now it's not tangling up with anything, and that's that setup. The other setup I'm using is going to be more of a finesse approach. When I'm fishing the smaller sizes, whether it's a 1/16, whether it's an 1/8 ounce, same thing. I got a Tikka Minnow, Today's Tackle pouch, super easy. Take that off. Now I got an active Tikka Minnow. This is going to be a 1/8 ounce. And I'll use this for a variety of things, whether it's crappies, whether it's bluegill, big perch, even some walleye fishing. This size works well, but I'm generally fishing maybe finesse walleyes, jumbo perch, slab crappies, white bass with this setup. And I'm now using a 32 or 36-inch dead meat rod. That's got that super quick, sensitive tip. This is going to be a glass rod, with a very, very quick tip that loads up on the hook set or when I detect a bite. And the reason I'm using this rod, maybe you might ask, why not using a solid graphite with that size Tikka Minnow. This is a smaller presentation. It's not as heavy. I don't need to control it as much like I would say a heavier lure like some of the Tikka Minnows I showed you earlier. So I can get by with that more sensitive tip, because oftentimes I'm working that lure, and then when the fish comes up, I'm just dancing it away and lifting it and watching for that rod tip. I'm still watching this rod tip as a sight or a bite indicator when I'm using these smaller Tikka Minnows for panfish, finesse walleyes. So I'm using that dead meat, 36 inch is the one I have in my hand. A 32 would work fine. And I'm using the same thing. I'm using a ultralight reel. This happens to be a 1000 series Shimano Stratic CI4. And I'm using 5-pound test frost ice monofilament on this one. So I'm downsizing a bit on the line, a little smaller diameter. It allows me to fish these lures a little more effectively. And I'm using a little different approach on the rod. Again, I have a little more finesse feel with this one. And this gives me kind of that 1-2 punch. And again, when I'm storing this, taking that today's tackle pouch. Clam makes these, going right over the blank of that rod. And there you go. That can't go anywhere. I can throw it on a rod holder, whatever you might want. So these are my 2 setups that I'm going to be fishing for Tikka Minnows. This allows me to fish Tikkas in a variety of situations, whether I'm finesse fishing, whether I'm getting after it. So if you're going to try the Tikka Minnow this winter, I would encourage you to look at one of these 2 setups. Tons of variations out there for rod types. These just happen to be the 2 I use to catch more fish. So put the Tikka Minnow into action. It's a fun lure. It catches a pile of fish. Good luck this winter.